Some new folks. Jody, is that you? I thought I saw Jody out there.
You did.
Jody's out there. Yeah, she just walked away from the desk for a moment.
Yay. Okay, well, here's the plan. I mean, here's the start of the plan. And that is, as we usually do, I want to create an energy field here so that everyone gets the most out of this as possible. So we'll pray in, we'll do some breathing. I would like all of you to introduce yourselves. Then I have a couple of items just to, first of all, get everyone connected here. And everyone out there connected. So let's pray first. So I invite you all to close your eyes, take a deep breath. Take another deep breath and exhale with your mouth open and breathe a lot of the air out. Breathe out all that stuff. One more. Just allow the silence to settle. Settle all of us, settle our minds, our whole energy. Spirit of the living God, we gather together this morning to know you more, experience you more, and experience life in its fullness. And so we are open and receptive to your spirit, alive, active, and quickened in each of us right now. So that this time is a blessing to all and to each. And so we go into this discussion with a sense of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. We all say, thank you, God. Amen. Amen. Sounds like a church call, huh?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Don't worry, don't worry. So keep your eyes closed again, please, and we'll just take some deep breaths. It's breathing is so important. So eyes closed, just some deep breaths, and just focus on your breath. Breathing in to fill your body with your breath. Exhaling through your mouth, called a circular breath. So in through the nostrils, fill your body with your breath, and then out through your mouth. Make your breath deep. Breathe and pay attention to the inhale, and in your mind's eye, see it filling your body. Exhale all of it through your mouth. And then go into your heart center. And there see a pink light. It's the light of divine love. And let divine love fill your heart, and then breathe that pink light. Imagine it as sparkling, perhaps. Sparkling energy, breathing it through your whole body is a blessing. And then seeing yourself in your mind's eye filled with a sparkling pink light from head to toe. Send it out as a blessing to all of us in this room and all of us who are watching online. And you online, send your love out to one another and to all of us here in the classroom. And so take another deep breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes. So,
I'm sorry, are masks optional?
yeah, while you're sitting down, kind of like in a restaurant.
Oh, just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure.
Imagine you're in.
Yeah, so thought I'd ask. Okay.
Unity
Space
Spiritual
pretty well,
Center.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. We are 6 feet apart, all of us.
Pretty well, yeah.
Okay, so introduce yourself and one thing that brings you joy. And I'll start with the folks online. Your name and one thing that brings you joy. Harold, you're here. Let's start with Kathy.
I'm Kathy, and Cleo brings me joy. That's too easy.
Yeah, she loves Kathy. And Eileen?
I'm Eileen, and what brings me joy is cooking and sharing it with others.
I wish you lived closer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I need your friend. I need her name.
Eileen is way out in Chandler too. Oh dear. Judy?
What brings me joy is creating artwork.
Artwork, creating artwork, yeah, thanks. Susie? Unmute, Susie, unmute.
We can't hear you.
Thank you. My 7-year-old granddaughter Isabella brings me such joy.
Great. And your name, your real name?
My real name? Oh, not Howard, it's Susan. Susan
Thank
Fisher.
you. That gentleman next to you, your real name and one thing that brings you joy.
I'm not sure what it is anymore, but I'll go by Howard Fisher. And what brings me joy, I always tell you the same thing, so I won't tell you this time that it's Susan, but it's life. Life brings me joy. All the nuances of living this complicated world is just a pleasure.
Oh, great, thanks. And Sig, unmute, Siggy.
My name is Sig, and what brings me joy is my family.
Thank you, thank you. And Jody?
My name is Jody, and what brings me joy is classes like this.
Thank you, Jody, glad you tuned in. Elva?
I'm getting to chat with my daughter when I get the occasions.
Your name is?
Alva, Mooring. I don't know what that, oh, there it is. Well, I'll go and say M-O-R-I-A. I don't know what that was.
What
That's,
brings you joy? What brings you joy, Elva? I didn't hear you.
no, I said getting to talk with my daughter on the phone. She lives in Missouri, so I get to speak with her.
Oh, great, thank you. And let's see, oh, Betty, hi, Betty. Your name and one thing that brings you joy?
Yes, hi. All of the above that everybody just mentioned for myself as well. But right now, yesterday, I was out in my backyard and my orange tree is just covered with all little white dots, like little stars in the sky, which are going to turn into beautiful blossoms, and it's going to smell so good. So nature I love.
Yeah, thank you. Levon, one thing you love, your name and one thing you brings you joy. Unmute. There.
Levon, Arizona sunsets.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, there's Cleo. Maybe Cleo wants to say hi. Arlene, hi, good morning. Your name and one thing that brings you joy.
I'm Arlene, and all of the above brings me joy, plus watching the rabbits and quail in my backyard.
Oh, very cool, thank you. I think we got everyone online. Did I, Kathy? Get everyone, okay, good. So let's start here with you, Maria. Your name for all of us and one thing that brings you joy.
My name is Maria, and what brings me joy is the fact that I'm here with all of you, getting to meet new people. And I have my 2 granddaughters are coming to visit next month, so I'm excited.
Yay, for sure,
Yes.
thank you. Laura?
I'm Laura, and my 2 dogs, Jet and Zaley, I couldn't say one brought me joy about the other, so.
Thank you. And Denise?
I'm Denise, and all of the above for me as well. I'll say Arizona sunshine because I'm from Minnesota, and this has been the best 2.5 months so far. So.
Oh, great, yeah, Levon is from Minnesota too. Hans?
My name is Hans, and you preempted me. The blue skies of Arizona bring me joy. Coming from Seattle, it's really great.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Hans. You say it Hans or Hans?
My family raised me Hans.
Hans, okay.
Everybody else calls me Hans.
Okay, well, I've been doing it Hans.
It's
I'm
fine.
gonna change. This,
Don't worry.
I'm learning new tricks. Hans. Okay, Linda.
Okay, I'm Linda, and I get great joy from beautiful sunny days like today.
Yeah, amen. Joy?
And I'm Joy. And I think I have to just say ditto to everything because this has been, I lived in some very cold places. And so this is, this is very nice. And the fact that I'm able to do so many things and hopefully more.
Yes, yeah,
Soon.
yeah, when the weather's nice,
Yeah.
right? Chris?
I'm Chris, and what brings me joy is when my children come visit.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, I totally love it. But
It's
I love
great
the
that they
visit
visit.
part.
Thank you.
Going home.
And Karen?
Everybody's I'm Karen. Everybody's taken it all about. I'm going to be original and say there are two things that really bring me joy. One is a good spiritual dialogue, a good spiritual dialogue that'll send me for a day or so. And then the other thing is polishing hardwood.
Say that again?
Polishing hardwood. When I carve a horse out of walnut and then I'm down to the finish, and instead of painting it or putting lacquer on it or anything, I sit and polish it by hand. And when I do that, it just brings bliss.
Wow.
So maybe I got one original thing.
That's very original.
I am so happy to see all these people.
Yeah, yeah, we're all coming out of hiding. My name is Sharon, and one thing that brings me joy is hanging out with my children. Yeah, hanging out, having dinner, doing anything with my kids brings me joy. Thank you all for sharing that. Now I want you to think of one daring thing that you have done. Not today, but when I say, think of one daring thing that you've done, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I had more than one.
Oh, good for you, but in the interest of time.
I know.
Let's do one. One thing that you have dared. One thing that you have dared. We'll start with Karen this time, Maria, you're off the hook. Karen?
Go ahead, Karen.
One daring thing.
Starting a treatment center for teenage girls.
Wow, yeah, wow. That is pretty daring.
Where, here? No, it was in Washington State. Yakima
Chris?
Valley, in Washington State.
Yeah, thanks. Where you're from, right?
Yeah, yes.
Chris?
And one daring thing, probably the most recent is I sold everything I owned.
Wow.
And cars, everything. And packed a car and moved to Arizona. Left my kids. But they're not that far, they're in Colorado.
Oh.
You can get on an airplane for $20, you know?
Don't diminish that daring thing. That was gigantic.
It was, yes, I did it. And I have not regretted one, and it's been 3 years and I've not regretted a day.
Oh, how
I'm
good.
so thrilled to be here around like minds.
Yeah, thank you. Joy?
I actually, hard to find one. I guess the most daring thing is becoming a high school teacher. And I was in a suburb of Chicago.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, it wasn't, but yeah, I think for me, because it was something I never ever thought that I would ever do. It was never a plan to even go to school, let alone. So I guess that, you know, counts as most.
What high school?
Crete Monique,
Where?
down in Crete, Illinois.
Oh, Crete, okay.
South, are you from Chicago?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Homewood, Flossmoor,
Uh-huh.
that area. Yeah,
I was on the other side of the city.
you were probably in the rich cities, right?
I was in, I lived in Elk Grove Village and taught at Elk Grove High School.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was down and my kids graduated from school in Illinois as well, yeah.
Well, it's not the most daring, but one daring thing was learning to operate the camera on Sundays.
Yes, yes.
And helpful. And anyone else that might want to do this daring thing.
Thank you for that promotion because we are open to, and someone else learning, or a few others learning how to operate that camera. So it's for a live streaming on Sunday. That'd be great. Hands?
I was traveling in Europe for a few months and decided to learn a language and went to Paris and stayed there 3 years.
Wow.
I didn't know a soul and I didn't know any French.
Wow.
And it turned out to be a great experience.
Yeah.
Wow. Very daring, very daring. Thank you. Denise?
Well, I guess the one I feel strongest about is ending my marriage. It also makes, you know, I'm also not proud of that so much, but it's something that needed to happen. And it took years of praying about and coming to that conclusion. But in the end, I'm so much happier, and actually I'm now able to be friends with my husband, and we still, our family is a family, we're just different, and it was the best thing for everybody, but it was really hard to come to the decision.
It's very brave and courageous to do that.
I jumped out of an airplane.
Yay!
That'll do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura.
Well, I have a few, but I'll just say the most recent ones, a couple of years back, climbing Camelback Mountain.
Oh, great.
It took me 3 tries, but I did it.
Good job. Great.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you'll lead an expedition there.
Maybe.
Okay, I hope you all heard these folks here. It was some great stuff. Let me start with Sig. Sig, one brave thing.
One brave thing is when my sister and I went on an inside passage cruise to Alaska, we did a zip line. And the first time I stepped off that platform, I was terrified. But the 6th time, I was wonderful.
Thank you. Levon. Unmute, Levon.
Sorry. Published a book.
What'd you say? What did you
I published a book.
You did? What's the title of it, Levon?
Billington Family Tree.
Say it again.
Billington Family Tree.
Family tree. Oh,
Yeah, it's my family's history.
what a great legacy for your kids. Fabulous. Betty?
Yes. My daring thing was accepting a Lady Clairol scholarship for women over 40, going back to school so that I could get my nursing degree that I wanted ever since 4th grade. And it was 25 years since I was out of high school, so I had to repeat all my science classes because DNA hadn't even been discovered when I was going to school back then.
Oh, how fabulous. Thank you. Kat?
Repelling.
Repelling, yes. Where did you repel?
I can't tell you. It was with a guy who was a bad boyfriend who I've talked about before. And he repelled a lot. And so I went with him, but I don't know where we were at.
You never do with bad boyfriends. Thank you. Eileen?
Going down a black ski run in Colorado.
Oh, really, huh? Good for you. Judy?
Chucking it all and moving to Arizona.
Yes, yeah. We've got a few of those here, don't we? Thank you. Arlene?
I was born and raised in Endicott, New York. When I was in my 30s, I packed up 3 children, newly divorced, and moved across state, left everything behind.
Wow.
It turned out good.
That was brave, very brave. We've got some of those in here too. Let's see, I didn't get to Alba and Susie and Howard. So Alba, one brave thing.
Well, this coming Sunday, the 14th, will mark 37 years I dared to face life and its failures and rejection without alcohol. So, best I.
Good job. Jody.
I do want to admit that I don't take a lot of risks, although the older I get, the more I have an intention to do so. But when I think about what I've done that's daring, what really comes to mind was when I went up to the Grand Canyon and we walked that path on the edge of the mountains, and I was so petrified. I did it, and I don't even know if I'd do it again. It was it was so hard for me to be on that little ledge. And then when a donkey came by and needed to pass me, I really thought I was gonna freak out. But that was pretty daring for me.
Yes, yes, thank you. Did I get, oh, Susie, one daring thing, Susie. Unmute, unmute.
The first thing that came to my mind was parasailing. I mean, there's been other strange things, but anyway. And then it was scary when I got up there and I really was getting panicky until I decided, okay, I'm just going to have to pretend I'm a bird. And then when I did that, I loved it. So it was great.
That's great. Is Jan with you? Is Jan there? Howard?
I don't tend to take risks, and you know, Susie's been the most stressful part of my life. The things she, but the one thing that gave me the most anxiety, and a couple of people have mentioned it, was accepting a job. I lived in Boston and moving to the Netherlands, country I'd visited once, didn't know the language. Went over there and took over a job. That gave me a lot of anxiety, figuring how to find an apartment and how to make the dishwasher work
And drive.
and drive on the wrong side of the street.
That is very brave. Thank you. Thank you. I think, did I get everyone here online? Kath, check for me. I don't see everyone at once. And my name is Sharon, and the one that came to my mind first was when in Las Vegas, they have a bungee jump up at the top of a hotel. I can't remember what they call it. Anyway, this bungee jump is, I don't know, 10 or I don't know how many feet up, but it's 10 stories up, I think. And the thing is, you sit in these seats facing out, and I remember the operator, and there are maybe 8 of us around this cone. And she said, now open your eyes and look out at the beautiful scenery. And I thought to myself, you gotta be kidding, open my eyes. But I did. And I remember saying, I said a prayer sitting there. I thought, okay, if this is the end, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And up I went, screaming all the way. It wasn't my first bungee jump, but it was probably, and I've jumped out of a plane too. But it was probably even scarier than jumping out of a plane. I was just ice. I was ice.
Afterwards though, did you feel exhilarated like
Oh, it was
the planning
fabulous.
person did?
Yeah. But once was enough. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now the reason I'm saying that is because it's really great energy. when you reflect for a moment on how courage led the way rather than fear. You know, giving faith, courage, which is an expression of faith in something greater than ourselves or the situation. It's very empowering, as are these 4 agreements when we keep them. So thank you all for sharing that. I was stimulated by it. I feel like I'm with some incredibly courageous people here. What do we do next? So take a deep breath and do all of you have this book or no? It's not necessary to have the book. Okay. Well, I'm going to start with in the intro before he gets to the first law. He talks about the book of law, which he calls our beliefs a book of law. Can you see that when you think about the beliefs that you hold? If you reflect on your belief system, the beliefs like, what do you believe about money? What do you believe about relationships, friendship? What do you believe about work or creative expression? What do you believe about other people, the economy, politics? We have beliefs about everything, don't we? If we reflect on it, we pause and reflect. And he calls that a book of law. Why do you think he would call it a book of law? I mean, that was a question.
Yeah.
Why would you consider, or why would I consider my belief system a book of law?
This is Kathy. I'm guessing, I'm not sure this is the right answer, but laws are something that don't change easily. They can change, but not without something to motivate that change. And so I think that our beliefs are kind of like that. Things that don't change easily, they can change, but there has to be something behind it driving that change.
Well said. Well said. Who else? Anyone else? Yes, Laura?
So laws are meant not to be broken.
Laws are meant not to be broken, because what happens if you break a law typically?
Yeah, in trouble.
There are consequences, and usually, I mean,
Usually they're not good consequences.
usually they're not good consequences. And that's what we tell ourselves, right? Like if I get out of this marriage, the law here, I'm married to this person, if I get out of it, then what's going to happen? Oh, I'll be all by myself, blah, 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 blah. It's things we tell ourselves. I'll say it.
Yes, laws are something that guide us.
Yes, laws guide our behavior, right?
They guide a lot of things in our life, yes.
Yeah, what else? What else, say, comes to mind? What else comes to mind when you think about how laws guide us?
They keep us from going in the wrong direction most of the time. Sometimes we ignore them and go in the wrong direction anyway.
Thank you. Who else? Someone else here had.
I mean, I was thinking of it differently. I was thinking of it more as something that you grow up with. You have parents that teach you certain things, and your belief system starts absorbing that. Then you grow up. My system. Well, I'm talking about me, okay? Okay. So if my parents teach me a certain way, I'll grow up believing in that. And that's a law for me to follow through. And then I will teach that law to my children, and so on and goes on.
Yeah.
And then it's like Kathy also said, you know, once you have that instilled in you, it's hard to break away from it. And you have to start developing different ideas and seeing life differently, or the laws differently, regardless of whatever the law may be that you're thinking of. You have to kind of like absorb it, review it, analyze it, whichever way you best can, and come up with a plan. And the plan would be, to me, talking to God, guidance by God, and absorbing all of that, being able to move. That's the way I look at it.
It worked, didn't it?
It sure did.
Yes. Who else? Anybody else about that? Okay. Great. So I think a key word mentioned here was change, right? Hard to change when something is a law. Unless you have a spiritual awakening, for example. If it's a law that hasn't worked, you know, if it's a law that works, keep doing it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if it's not working, if a belief isn't working well, it's not making us happy as kind of like the bottom line, then reflecting. So, and that's his whole point, you know, that these 4 agreements invite us to look at what laws we use to guide our behavior and our thinking and our decisions, for that matter. So you might think, for example, of what would you say is a law that you live by that is good for you? Karen?
Whoa, I was going the other way.
Oh, well, go the other way then.
Well, Maria brought up something for me personally that I hadn't thought of before, but my mother had definite opinions about death and the ceremonies that happen around death. And she made comments from the time we were little, if you do an open casket on me, I will haunt you. Things like that. Don't cry, because that's all they want to see is you cry. And these are attitudes and ideas that I carried about death through the death of my daughter, my father, people close to me. And I carried those religiously until I came to spiritual growth. And I'm going to say mainly unity, because unity was the foundation for a lot of what I carry now. And that allowed me to change without a great deal of pain. In fact, relief.
Yeah. Fabulous. Well said. Thank you.
Now back to the original question.
Yeah, what was the original question?
I think you said change that gave you joy or something.
Oh, I
Laws
guess,
that are laws that we're grateful for and we're glad about, or I don't know.
you know, once I say something, there's no. I usually can't quit.
We're all at that age.
Launched it into the universe and it's gone.
But I think what I was inviting was a reflection on what we believe that has worked or not worked. Around, you know, when you think of all the arenas in your life, when I think of all the arenas in my life, and I usually didn't reflect on a belief that was running my life unless I was running into walls.
Yeah.
And as I reflected, I saw there are some beliefs, behaviors that are running my life beyond what I'm aware of. And I had to pay attention to that, because some of them weren't doing me any good. Some of them were not helping, not helpful. So as a part of this class, I would invite you to not just today as we're together, but, you know, through the week, just notice, okay, what beliefs really do I have? And it'll show up by how we are and what we say. So we're going to jump into this any minute now, hang in there. But it's 4 agreements. It's not 4 ideas. It's not 4 thoughts. It's 4 agreements. So his invitation is to have an agreement, or agreements. For example, don't take things personally. That's a belief. And so reflecting on agreements, the agreements you've made, the agreements I've made in my life, or the agreements I am making, what do you see, or what does an agreement mean to you?
Well, usually when you make an agreement, you expect to keep it, like you don't want to renege, or you want to try hard to keep it if you make an agreement.
So would you make that personal for yourself, Denise?
Yeah, I would say that well, sometimes it's easier said than done to make an agreement. And I have things I believe in strongly, like respecting other people, being kind to others. Those are like, I feel like your life can hardly go wrong if you just respect everyone, be kind, and really it's all about love. But then sometimes I see myself and I think at the end of the day, was I really as loving and kind as I could have been? It's something that I want to live by, but I don't always do as well as I could. I don't know if that even applies.
Of course it does. But I'm going to go back to what you said initially, was when you have an agreement, it's important to keep it. That's what an agreement means. It's, I'm putting myself on the line here, and I'm going to hold myself accountable. So when I said make it personal, it's, well, so how would you say it for yourself?
I don't even know how to answer that.
Let me answer for you.
Yes.
I'm Denise now. I'm channeling Denise.
Okay, thank you.
When I make an agreement, I keep it. It's important to me to keep my agreement.
I'd like to be able to say that, and it is.
Can you say it?
It is important to me to keep my agreements, but I'm not going to say that I'm perfect. Is what I'm getting at.
Well,
I might make it with good faith, but I'm human and I fail. So
listen, you might be the only one. Yeah, Denise, Siggy, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I think agreements can be from minute to minute. Agreements can be made for a lifetime. It can be made for certain circumstances. It can be made for attitudes and behavior.
Great, brilliant, thank you. Howard?
I'm having trouble with the way you're using the term.
You always.
And I don't know a better term, but to me, an agreement implies two people. You and I have to agree. If I agree you're going to preach in the church every Sunday, then I come there expecting that, and you, to keep your end of the agreement, come to church and preach. If you don't, then our agreement is not being fulfilled. So I don't know how I can have an intangible agreement with, I agree I don't know. Everything I agree to has to include somebody. I agree to feed the dog every day. Dog doesn't get a voice in that, but I know it implies that the dog is expecting that. So to me, some of the statements about agreement you're talking about, well, I make a resolution to do something. That's, to me, that's not an agreement with another person.
Commitment.
It's I don't know, that's what I'm struggling with anyway.
Okay, well, may I comment on that? I think someone else was going to also. So have you ever made an agreement with yourself, Howard? Have you made an agreement with yourself?
I have, and those are easier to break.
Exactly. They are easier to break, aren't they?
Yes,
I
they
mean,
are.
do you all relate to that? It's easier to break agreements that we make with ourselves.
Especially if you don't tell anybody about it.
Exactly. Than agreements with someone else. Yeah, that's another conversation we could have. Why is that? Why is it that we find it easier to break an agreement we've made with ourselves? Like, I'm not having any sugar during Lent, which is an agreement I made with myself. Why is it easier to break that than I make an agreement with Maria? I'm going to meet you at 7 tonight for dinner. Why is that?
Shouldn't they be just as important?
You don't have to answer that, but think about it. Laura, what were you going to say?
I have the same thoughts about the word agreement, feeling like it involved two entities or not just myself. And I think of it in terms of making an agreement with spirit. And so,
like what?
Well, just the idea that it's not just, my willpower or my resolution, that I'm not gonna eat, candy today or whatever it is. But it's more of a commitment or an agreement you're making, a commitment to the greater good of doing these things, not, for my own benefit, but because it's for the greater good. So it's, to me, feeling like an agreement with spirit.
Well, that's a great point, and I agree. I think on the circumference of what is an agreement, that whole shebang, that is certainly, especially since we're sitting here in a church talking about this, right? That we make that making agreements with God or commitments or bringing God into the picture, like it's not me, you and I are working together, co-creating in this. Yeah, did I understand?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anybody else out there? Siggy?
Yes, when you break an agreement with yourself, it takes away a little bit of yourself. It makes you feel less. When you keep the agreement, it helps bolster you to go forward.
Beautiful. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how that works? When we break an agreement with ourselves, it impacts our soul, our very soul, our spirit and our soul. Okay, how are we doing so far? Let me look at my notes. I have here a note to myself related to what you said, Sig. Have you ever broken an agreement? And what did you notice? And Sig spoke to that when she breaks. What she noticed was when she break. Am I right, Sig? When you broke an agreement with yourself and hurt. I mean, it wasn't good for your soul. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, there's something about an agreement, and maybe it's because spirit is involved in every agreement we make, whether we're aware of it or not. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating here right now. So here's another question I posed before we jump in here, and that is, let's have a little sharing about integrity. What are your thoughts when you think about integrity, and am I a person of integrity? Do you know people of integrity? Who's a hero? Because who's one of your heroes because they're people of integrity? Sig, is that you?
To me, a person of integrity the person I think of is President Obama.
Because?
Because he keeps his word.
Great.
And he tries to do good rather than evil things, I don't know.
Great, thank you. Who else? Anyone else on integrity? Betty?
Yeah, I wish I had more time to think over whether I should say this or not. But I think we are missing as a population, we are missing integrity now. I'm thinking of these checks that are going out and that they're so needed by so many people. And actually, we don't have a choice whether we're getting them or not. We're getting them whether we think we need them or we think we don't need them. But when people are doing fraudulent things to take money away from others that really need it, and I don't know, I don't think people, they think, oh, well, I don't deserve this. No, this is not good. People do things that are not for the common good, but if they can get away with it, they think it's okay. There's no integrity there to keep them in line to do the right thing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Even if it like cheating on an income tax, maybe, you know, they think that they're smart if they can cheat on their income tax. They don't think that that money is needed for other things. So.
Who's they? Wait, what?
I said, who is they? The people who don't have
Well,
integrity.
people who, I think she was just generally speaking about, yeah. There are those who cheat on their, looking for an example, people who cheat on their income tax would be out of integrity. Why? Why? What makes that out of integrity?
Stealing.
Part stealing?
It's
dishonest.
It's stealing.
Okay.
From other people, from other things that the money could do.
Okay. Howard?
The integrity issue that has bothered me is that, again, it's back to the politicians. I forget who the lady was that was talking about it, but they stand in front of you and say one thing, and then they go to Washington and do the other. Yeah, the whole minimum wage issue really bothers me, that we pay so little and expect women with a couple of children to make a living on a minimum wage. And I watched one of our senators vote that part of the bill down with a smile on her face. To me, that's a loss of integrity. They'll say anything to your face to get your vote. And then when they go to Washington, they'll preach the party line, whatever that line is, whether it affects you or hurts you, they don't care. What matters is that they get reelected. So many of the politicians that we see have lost touch with integrity.
Okay.
My opinion, sorry.
So that begs the question, Levon.
Integrity comes from the word integrated, and it is when what is in the inside of you is also expressed in the outside of you.
Yeah.
So you're whole, you're complete.
Yeah.
But it relates to what Howard is saying, because they're saying one thing and doing another. That's not integrity.
Right. Because the insides don't match the outsides, if we use your analogy.
Right.
So integrity is, as you said, wholeness. And if we speak on a personal level for ourselves, it is our insides match our outsides. My beliefs match my behavior, and my behavior is aligned with my belief system. So if I believe, for example, that lying isn't good, but I'm telling a lie, I'm out of integrity with my standard. Anybody else on integrity? Because that's really what the agreements are about, right? Make an agreement with yourself and keep it. Anybody else? Betty?
Yeah, I just want to add, I think I can understand what you're saying there about it matching inside and outside, but I think there are people that don't have integrity on the inside either. And they act according to those selfish motives without concern of how it affects other people. And that's a lack of integrity on their part inside, and it shows up on the outside too.
So their standard may be different. Levon, did you have your hand up? Or were you scratching your head?
I'm just saying that inside we're all part of God, so there can't be an inside that's not good. But people don't recognize their own insides sometimes, I think.
Yeah, there are probably a lot of people who do not believe, as we do in unity, that each of us is a divine spark. Each of us is an individualized expression of God. A God that we say is all good and all love.
When you get down to who you truly are, that's God, and that's integrity, and that's wholeness.
So at the highest level, as Levant, at the highest level of integrity, perhaps, we can say that when our insides match what we say about God, assuming that our outsides do too, that's integrity. We're a person of integrity. It's operating by the highest possible standard, depending on who you say God is. Okay, anybody else on integrity?
I know a couple people in Sun City who I think have a lot of integrity by practicing what they preach, which is helping others. They help their neighbors, they help the homeless, they help a lot. And I appreciate that.
Amen. Amen.
I'm not as good at it as they are, but I'm gonna work on it.
But you're on your way, Hans, because I know what you're doing here in this church.
It's a start.
What else might we want to say about integrity? Anything?
Well, I can only think, this Maria, I can only think about when I was younger and I was starting in working in the bank. When I got interviewed, I had no idea what I was going to do. And the supervisor that interviewed me, he just took me under his wings and he got me to go to school and he just pushed me to get better at it. And he followed through with everything he had told me that I needed to learn. And it was, to me, that was something he did on his own without even, he just took me under his wings, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And to me, that's integrity. That was something that just came out of his heart and just teach me the best that I can learn to become as good as I did during that time as I was working and raising my children at that time. So
what a gift.
That was a great gift.
What a gift.
And I blessed him. And I mean, we became very good friends, you know, so it turned out to be really good.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else on integrity or agreements? What it all is, but worth reflecting on. So let me see what we've got here. Come on now. Here we go again, Kathy. Moving forward. Kathy, are you there?
She's gonna come see me.
Gotta jump the gate.
Good thing you're tall.
I'm pressing all the buttons and none of them are working.
Likes integrity.
The dog ate her.
I need
There's-
my engine. Ta-da! Okay. Hey, Cleo. Is Cleo with you?
No, she's barking because she's on the other side of her age.
It hears your voice. Oh, okay. How about this one? Chris, why don't you read this for everyone?
Everything is made of light, and the space between isn't empty. Everything that exists is one living being, and that light is the messenger of life.
What do you think about that? Everything is made of light, and the space between isn't empty. Everything that exists is one living being, and that light is the messenger of life.
That was brought up in the book, because I did read most of the book, and you couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And when you realize that the stars aren't radiating the light is the star.
Such a beautiful thought, isn't it?
It is.
So this is from the book. Everything is made of light, including each of us. And the light is the messenger of life, which is kind of like John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. The Word was in the beginning with all things. In other words, the light was in the beginning with all things. And the darkness cannot overcome the light. And the Word, the light, was made flesh and dwells within us.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's Kathy. So Lucifer literally means light carrier. How does Unity have any explanation of why Lucifer would be called light carrier? Why the bad in this world would have anything to do with light?
Before I answer that, I have an assignment for you.
Okay.
I get the revealing word. Get the revealing word. It might be in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Look up the word Lucifer.
Okay. Thanks.
And then you can read it to us when you find it.
Okay.
Okay? So we all know the word Lucifer, right? And Lucifer apparently is the name of the fallen angel. Yeah? Fallen angel. I think myth has it that Lucifer was a bad guy and fell out of heaven as a result. He went out of integrity with the light. He may be the light in his heart and soul, as Laban was saying, but he went out of integrity with it. He broke his agreement, the agreement of his essence. And so responding to that, I mean, all of you consider, what you would say about Kathy's question. And it really kind of, for me, Kathy, points to what Unity says about sin. Sin is the absence of the awareness of God, or any ignorance of the presence of God or the light of God, or any attempt to negate a divine idea. Oh, good, Levon, you got your revealing word or the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. When you find it, read it to us, would you, Levon? Can't hear you.
What am I supposed to read?
What did you just pull down from your bookshelf?
My Metaphysical Bible Dictionary.
Yeah, see if you can find Lucifer in there.
I'm looking, but I haven't found it yet.
Oh, maybe it's not in there because it's kind of a
Give me a chance here.
it's kind of a fun. I don't know how I want to term it, but it's not all that biblical. But let me just say, we're all the light, but not all of us always express the light. Is that true? We're all the light of God expressing, but sometimes I have not been aware of me being the light of God expressing. I'm not expressing the light of God right now. Lucifer, not expressing the light of God right now.
It's not in there, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for looking though, Levon. Anything else on this particular quote from the book? All right then. So one's belief system is like a book of law that rules our mind. Whatever is in the book, capital B, is our truth. And so my question is, what if a belief is inaccurate? We pointed to this, we've talked around it. What would you answer? What if a belief is inaccurate? What if I believe that there is a hell and bad people are going to hell? Is that accurate?
No.
But it is to some people, right? What if a belief is inaccurate? Have any of you ever operated under a belief that was not accurate?
I think you learn as you get older. I mean, when circumstances are put in front of you, it may change your belief. And to hopefully a better belief that would be accurate instead of inaccurate. Because I think we've lived some of our lives with inaccurate beliefs, but we didn't know better until the information was put in front of us. And then there's just that heart knowing.
Right.
And some of it might actually come from, as you mentioned, Maria, our parents' beliefs. And I'm not saying your parents didn't have good beliefs, but as I got older, there was a lot I learned from my parents that I totally appreciate, but there are some things that they felt that I don't agree with. And you're right, age and experience makes wisdom. Yes.
Age and experience makes wisdom. Beautiful. And Howard, are you still there? Because I know that when I asked that question, what if a belief is inaccurate, you were pondering that word inaccurate, weren't you?
No, I was just trying to understand for myself what if a belief is inaccurate. And I was back to the medieval times when the mariners were thinking the earth was square, and it created fear, and then all of a sudden they figured out it was round, and that's kind of what I was trying to sort out in my mind, how an inaccurate belief affects a person.
Great. I think I hear you, and it's a great example of a belief that was not accurate. The world is square. And what it created for those who believed that was a lot of fear that they were going to fall off the edge of the earth. And what happened then was they didn't explore, they didn't go beyond their comfort zones, where it was safe, right where they were. So I think that's a beautiful analogy of what the result is of a belief that is not really true. And he talks about that in the book. Betty, did you find something on Lucifer?
No, I didn't. I just wanted to say that I'm reading now a book called Faith After Doubt by McLaren. It says why your beliefs stop working and what to do about it. And he's a Christian minister who suddenly realized that a lot of the things that he was teaching his flock were not things that he believed himself, and the trouble and what he went through. And he talks about the stages. And as somebody was just saying, stage one is when we are subject to our parents and our school teachers and our ministers and listen to them, and we respect them, so we believe it. But then we start to question ourselves. The bottom line, I haven't finished the book yet, but the bottom line is that doubt is not bad, because it means you're open-minded that there might be some other answer to that statement than what you've been told or what you currently believe. And I think that that's what helps us grow. And I think that's what is happening in religion these days. The people are looking for the kernel of the message of love. And that means loving people that are transgender or not of our gender or religion or whatever. Anyway, it's a very important topic for us now, and I'm glad that we're addressing it. So I don't have a source to check on Lucifer for you right now.
I'm sure it's defined online. We can go online quickly and find out. Because everything's out there in the ether. Isn't it amazing what is actually out there and what we cannot see? The internet, for example. All you have to do is Google something and you get it. Where is it that we get it? Where is it that we get it? Up there in the cloud. They say, oh, it's in the cloud. Well, where's the cloud? I love that metaphor for life and God and spirit and all. Okay, anything else on what if a belief is inaccurate? What is the result? And you all have been talking about, Betty just talked about, what is the result if a belief is inaccurate?
This is Kathy. I think the result is it can lead you in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Not a helpful one. But then as unity people, what do we know about that?
There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. There must be a reason.
And
if we function with an inaccurate belief, then we are in a place that we can learn something new and change the belief.
Yes. You remember that story I told on Sunday about 5 chapters in the Book of Life? I walk down the street and fall in a hole. I'm helpless, I'm powerless, but it's not my fault I fell in. And it takes me forever to get out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street, there's a hole in the sidewalk, I fall in. I think this is chapter 3, I realize that it's my responsibility and I get out immediately. Last chapter, I walk down the street, I walk down a different street. What happens when a belief is inaccurate? We fall in holes. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of hole, right? A hole of unhappiness, fear, upset, trapped, stuck.
And then we know it's a belief when it's a pattern.
When it's a pattern. Yeah. Yeah. Kathy, were you going to say something? You've got a smile on your face. No? Okay.
I was just going to say well, there's gray areas and our beliefs, there's also 2 sides to everything. And so I guess if someone said to me, I think your belief about such and such is inaccurate, well, I'd probably hear what they said and, consider it. And because I like to think I'm open-minded, but I mean, I guess that's one problem I have with the question is that sometimes there's gray areas and 2 sides to every story.
Yes. Yes. Good. Thank you for that. What if actually though, for real, a belief I hold is not the truth? What if for real it isn't? And there is gray area. Not everything is black and white. There's the letter of the law and then there's the spirit of the law, right? So someone may not agree with my belief. That doesn't mean it's inaccurate just because no one else believes it. If it's working for me and I'm happy and my life is sweet, is it inaccurate? Not for me, it is, isn't?
Mm-hmm.
We could get into a discussion on a lot of things from that aspect, couldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready, but I'm not doing it. Okay, so is this the truth? We need courage to challenge our own beliefs?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Willing. On Sunday, remember I said unremitting willingness. When I'm willing to see something differently, that opens a door. That opens a door. Sometimes I haven't been willing to see things differently. because I was too scared, you know what I'm saying? So I'll just say this. I knew I had to get out of my marriage, but I was unwilling to see anything differently. The fear was too great to see something differently. And I think that's true for most people, you know? It takes courage to challenge our own beliefs. And why would we even challenge our own beliefs when they don't seem to be working for us? Right? I mean, can you think of challenging a belief you had when it was working so well? No. So my invitation here is to think of a belief that it took courage for you to challenge, and Denise, you spoke to that. What happened when you exercised the energy of courage, which is faith? You don't have to answer that question, but maybe this week reflect on it. So I'm just going to touch on this morning. This is the first agreement. Be impeccable with your word. And we have spoken about that because we talked about agreement and integrity. And his way of saying it is be impeccable with your word. I remember when I was writing my first book, Adventures in Prayer. You know what I was doing? And out of integrity, I knew, this book wanted to be written. I could feel it. I wanted to write it, but there were too many. I didn't make it a priority. I didn't make it a commitment. So I did this much research when I was at Unity Village. And what did I do with that research? I put it in my closet and it stayed there. So I finally challenged myself, and I hired a coach to support me, to help me be in integrity with what I wanted. And that was to write the book. And so I would have to report to her every other week. I would make a promise, an agreement. I will write 5 pages this week. And if I called her the following week and she would say, well, did the 5 pages get written? And sometimes I said, no. And she said, she used the word impeccability. She used the word impeccable. You need to be impeccable with your word. If you say you're going to do it, do it. So I think this is because it's number 1, the first agreement we make, it's the foundation for all the rest of them that come. And so Karen, would you read what Don Miguel said there in that?
That's up on the screen?
Yeah.
Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love.
Brilliant, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Comments?
I think first of all, my mind goes to be impeccable with my word when I'm speaking to you all. And I don't think about being impeccable when I think about talking to this dumb Karen that never does it right.
Yeah. So we're so often, I guess you're saying, we're so often not impeccable with our word when it comes to what we say to ourselves.
Oh, I messed up again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I think that was the most powerful part of that one.
Yeah.
For me.
Yes. Yes. How about say only what you mean? Say only what you mean.
Wouldn't that change the world?
It would, wouldn't it?
Woohoo!
I could be dangerous too, though.
Say that again, Joy.
I said saying what you mean could also be give a lot of anxiety, upsetting, because I think things and I could say them and I mean them, but it would not be appropriate. I don't
Good
know
point.
what to use.
It might hurt somebody.
Yes, yes, because those thoughts do go through my mind, and I have a hard time sometimes not saying that. But,
Yes.
and it's not that I, because I am very opinionated and but not in I just see things sometimes differently, and it's not that I want to hurt somebody's feeling or whatever, but there are things I call them hits. I just hits me, and it's like, that's not right, or, whatever. And so sometimes I will verbalize that, not always, but it is. So I don't know, it's a fine line for me.
It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, so let's go to the last line though. Here's the key to that. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love.
Well, sometimes I think I am. So there's that too.
Yes.
What I may think is truth and love, depending on who's receiving it or what it is, even if I'm trying to coach it in, it still lands, and it does. And sometimes it's okay. And most of the time it's okay, but I do get these thoughts, and I'm not trying to be mean or vicious, but I'll say something, and I think I probably shouldn't have said that, because sometimes I think the person that you say it to, I'm not clear on maybe I should have, because I'm not clear on how it's going to hit their thought processes. So in order, you really have to know somebody in order, I think, sometimes to say something. Or can I just say, sometimes I will preface it, or I just keep my mouth shut. If I think it's going to be, knowing people, try to get to know them, that if I'm going to say this, I think it's true, but it's probably going to hurt them. So you have to be cautious.
You have to be cautious, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so.
It's important. I think that's the message of this agreement. Be impeccable with your word.
Yeah.
That,
and you have to know, I guess you have to.
I always wish for about 2 minutes to preface when I want to say something that might take
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
the wrong way. It's like, okay,
Or not.
God, help me use the right words that get my point across, but not hurting the other person in any way. There are ways to say things. Sometimes I think, God, that came out good, but then other times,
no, I know.
So there are books written about all that. Courageous conversations, fierce conversations. And it's because, well, there are a number of facets here that you pointed to when you were sharing, Joy. One is, what's my intention? In saying this, what is my intention?
Yeah, it wasn't to be mean, but I have to think about how that person is going to. And I think particularly, I've only lived here 3 years, so I don't really know anybody well. And so I don't have history. Like when you live when you've lived someplace for a long time, or you've had long time friends, pretty much what's gonna, but when you're moving here, you just have to be very, because I don't know anybody that well. And then of course the pandemic hasn't helped either. But you just have to I'm trying to be very careful of, what I say, because I don't know how they're gonna take it.
Well, careful and fearful are two different things.
Yeah, no, I'm not fearful, but I'm just.
Careful is important.
Yeah.
Because that's being impeccable with your word.
Yeah, I'm trying to be sometimes. Yeah.
As long as it's not fearful. Let me get to, Siggy, I see your hand up. Unmute.
I want to say that when I was growing up, my mother kept saying, Sig, you have no tact. I just speak what I think, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But I've learned to acquire tact, I hope. And being tactful means thinking before you speak, and speaking only the truth that won't hurt somebody.
Yeah. I think that that's being impeccable. It's, Joe was saying, careful. It's caring about the other person. And sometimes courageous things need to be said, at least they have been for me. And Denise pointed to pray before you speak. If it's one of those conversations that you need to have to be in integrity with your own self, with the God of your being. One of those courageous conversations like, what you just did hurt my feelings. That's a courageous conversation, right? If we're impeccable with our word, we're going to get clear about our own truth and come from a place of love. And I like what you said, Denise, about, pray before you go into it.
Okay.
God, give me the words. That's biblical. That's biblical. Moses said to God, I'm not going to go talk to the Pharaoh. And God said, don't worry, I'll give you the words. You will know what to say. Any final comments ending comments before we close? Kathy?
Oh, I found Lucifer in the in the metaphysical dictionary. So it is, let's see, metaphysically it signifies man's uplifting of the ruling ego of the sense consciousness and attributing to the outer sense man those qualities of light, understanding, and greatness that belong to God only. This is adverse, of course, and it comes under the satanic phase of thought in the individual. It must be overthrown, cast down, and out of consciousness. Interpreted, therefore, this text in Isaiah does refer to Satan, to his self-exaltation and downfall. So that's what it says. I still don't understand it.
Thank you, Charles Fillmore. We have to realize that was written back in the 40s, the 1940s. And it's a bit arcane, but you get the point, right?
Summarize it.
Summarize it, she
Yeah, I
said.
didn't really get the
So,
word.
Fillmore relates it to false ego. It's when our thinking is off. It's not when our thinking or belief system is not aligned with the divine, with what we say the divine is. And so I think we always need to be cognizant, at least I need to be cognizant of, when I say aligned with God, I mean the God of my understanding. And my understanding is aligned with what unity teaches because it works for me. It fits with with my own sense of hearing the Spirit speak to me, my own guidance. So in unity, we say God is all love, all powerful. Think about the 12 powers that we teach. We say that the 12 powers represent our discerned understanding of ways that the Spirit of God expresses in and through us. The 12 powers, 12 divine powers. And so, so that's where I want to align myself with the God of my understanding, that is that, all of. Now, when I was growing up, I don't know about you guys, but I was brought up in a faith, Catholic, and I heard God is punishing. Well, if my understanding of God is that God is punishing, do you see what aligning with that would look like? It's kind of scary. So anyway, we're going to close now. Any final comments?
Good class.
Yes. So think about for a moment what is the most helpful thing you heard today. What are you going to take away with you that will make perhaps a difference? You don't have to tell me. I just invite you to think about that. What's the most important thing? what's been the most useful, helpful. And let's close with prayer. So Spirit of God, I give thanks for all of us here together today, exploring divine ideas and a way to think of our lives and live our life. And so we give thanks that throughout this week, you empower us to be impeccable with our word. We give thanks for the blessings of this time, known and revealed throughout the week. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you all. Thank you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you.
Reverend Sharon, can I talk to you? Jen, what are you doing? Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What we were talking about yesterday, you know, when you called me. Anyway, Renee talked to our astrology person, and I guess she had COVID back then, and and then it turned into she got a severe stroke and never.
I'm gonna call you. Hey, Susie, I'm
What?
gonna call you right away because I can't hear you well. I'm gonna call you.
Oh, okay.
Back to
Okay.
my office.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great